So namaste and a very good morning to all of the students of Himalayan Yoga. Here we will begin with our 300 hours anatomy session. In a couple of minutes, was waiting for the students to join, but anyway, we have a recorded session here for those who are or who have missed the sessions. Before we start, we would like to chant an opening prayer and one Om. So please keep your back and spine straight and try to chant this mantra not only before the beginning of your classes, but also at your wake up early morning, right from your bed. You can chant also this mantra, a purification mantra. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Take a long breath and chant Om one time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much. So, yesterday we have seen our axial skeletal system with the appendicular skeletal system. We have completed appendicular skeletal system and we have seen all the bones in our whole body, the 206 number of bones. Today we will just summarize before we begin with the bone joints. What are the bone joints? We will talk about it today. But before we talk about the bone joints, we just summarize in a flow chart that will be helpful for you to know what we have studied during this course. So the flow chart of the skeletal system, which we have done, right over here, I will write the skeletal system made up of the bones. That means there are 206 number of bones in our skeletal system. From these 206 number of bones in our skeletal system, this skeletal system is divided into two types. The first one here is known as axial skeletal. And the second one here, I will write appendicular skeletal. The bones in the axial skeleton are 80. The bones in the appendicular are 126. In the axial skeleton, what sections we have seen? The head. In the head sections, how many bones we have seen? Like in our cranium, in our face, and in our ears. Approximately 28 number of bones we have seen in just our head section. Then in our neck section, we have seen the bone, hyoid bone. In the neck section, one single bone. We have also seen the vertebral column. How many vertebrae? Or how many vertebrae are being present? 26 vertebrae we have seen. Apart from that, we have seen the sternum and the ribs. So the ribs and sternum together, we have seen 25. So we have 24 ribs plus one sternum, 25. Together it will make the number of bones in the axial skeletal 80. 80. Similarly, okay, what about the appendicular skeletal? That we will see. So first let me see here 28 and we have 20 52. So 52 plus 28, 80 bones, appendicular skeletal. Right over here we have seen pectoral girdle. Pectoral girdle means the bones in our shoulder blade and collarbone clavicle. These two bones and on one side. So on both the sides, four. We have pectoral girdle, four bones. Then we have the upper limb, that is our arms. How many bones? We see 60, 60. Then we have pelvic girdle. These two pelvic bones we have. And we have also seen lower limbs. That means our both the legs. Same 60. So here we have 126 bones. We have already studied. This is what an actual flow chart of the skeletal system, if you will see here, that talks about the 206 number of bones, which we have studied day before yesterday and which we have studied yesterday. Appendix. You will find it out here, all these bones and the concept in our recordings maybe on our video. Now, we will proceed further with the next and we'll talk about the bone joints. So what are these bone joints basically? We will see. Up till here, I don't think you will have any questions. The more the concept is clear on the whiteboard, even we have not studied here with the help of any skeletal available with me at my home. But make sure if you will read or if you will study on yourself or if you will just go through what we have seen, you will understand each and everything more clearly and in a better way what we have just mentioned on the whiteboard. So just keep your mind clean and calm and try to just revise the things. You will get it everything on the whiteboard more than the books. The concept will be clear on the whiteboard. The book or the manual will be for you just for the reference. I will erase this now and we will speak about bone joints. So bone joint is a term, a simple term that bone joint is a simple term that is also known as articulation. Articulation means the joint at the bone joints, that means where two bones meet or connect on one single point. That is known as the point of articulation. Over here, if consider this as one bone and it as another bone, if these two bones will meet at one point, that is known as a bone joint. This point is known as articulation. Over here, what do we have? Like in our body, this is the wrist joint, this is the elbow joint. So when these two bones will meet, that particular joint known as the bone joints. Also, there are different types of bone joints in anatomy. We will see in the skeletal system what are those different kinds of bone joints. The different types of bone joints are fibrous bone joints, then we do have the cartilaginous bone joints, and we do have the synovial bone joints. These terms might be a little bit hard to get, but in a simple terms, I will also clear what are these fibrous bone joints, cartilaginous bone joints, and synovial bone joints. So first, the types of bone joints. The first type is fibrous bone joints. Where is this fibrous bone joints, or what does this mean, fibrous bone joints? This fibrous bone joints in simple term means unmovable bone joints. This means unmovable bone joints. Where do you find these unmovable bone joints? That means which are the bones which are not moving. We can see we move our hands, legs, and the shoulders, but which bones you find which are we cannot move? The bones which are in our axial skeletal are mostly the fibrous bone joints. That means the bones in our head, in our cranium, all the bones which protects the organ brain. So the cranium bones like frontal, temporal, occipital, parietal bones, all these bones are known as fibrous bone joints because they are not moving. And the rest of the bones in the axial skeletal are also fibrous bone joints, which we cannot move, like in the facial skeletal. You will see the cheekbone, zygomatic maxilla. These are fixed. Only moving bone, if I am speaking or talking, is mandible. So this is the only moving bone. The rest are all fixed, fused with each other. These are fibrous bone joints, unmovable. Clear? So for example, here the bones in cranium and facial skeletal, except mandible. Then there are also more bones which you cannot move, but these are what? Easy to remember. Just for an example, we have the cartilaginous bone joints. So cartilaginous bone joints are known as semi-movable bone joints. Semi-movable bone joints. So where are these semi-movable bone joints or cartilaginous? Cartilage, this word cartilage, it means that there are certain bones which are connected to the cartilage. Where do you find the cartilage disc and the cartilage pad? Here, you will find it in between every vertebra. So the example of this cartilage disc or the cartilaginous bone joints where vertebrae are connected, in between the vertebrae there is this cartilage pad. So this is what all the bones present in our vertebral column or the spine are known as cartilaginous bone joints. Okay, is this clear? We will proceed more further now. Next, about the cartilaginous bone joints, then we will have the synovial bone joints. Speaking about the synovial bone joint, first I would like to erase these two. Make sure first you write down these two joints. The fibrous means unmovable. The cartilaginous means semi-movable. Examples of fibrous unmovable in the cranium and facial skeleton. Examples of the cartilaginous are the vertebral column or the spine, we can say, semi-movable. Now, which one is left in simple terms? Unmovable is done, semi-movable is done. Now, just movable. So these bone joints which are movable, we will see now, that are known as synovial bone joints. Number 3, synovial bone joint, known as movable bone joint. What does it mean, synovial or movable bone joints? The rest of the joints which we can move in our whole body, mostly in the appendicular skeletal system, that means which is not in the axis, are known as appendicular or synovial bone joints. These bone joints are known as movable bone joints. The first one is example, ball and socket. Where do you find this ball and socket joint? These ball and socket joints are found in our hips and shoulders. So hip and shoulder joint, hip bone joint and the shoulder joints are only the ball and socket joint in our whole body. That means our shoulder joint can move in all the axes. We can move it in x-axis, we can move it in y-axis, we can move it in z-axis. So x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. So the movement of the joint in all the direction can be made or said as ball and socket joint only in the shoulder and our hip, which is connected to our pelvic. Okay, we have the ball and we have the socket. Like, got it? The next example or next movable bone joint is hinge joint. Hinge joint, for example, only in one direction movement.
Good morning, Ji.
Namaste, good morning.
कैसे हैं?
बहुत बढ़िया. And you, how are you? All good here.
जी, बढ़िया, बढ़िया.
Great. So I am not able to pronounce your name actually. Can you tell me?
Yes, अखिलेश बुला सकते हैं आप.
Akhilesh, yeah.
क्योंकि ये मेरा ग्रीक नेम है ना, तो अखिलेश इंडियन वाला है.
Okay, okay. Now you made it Greek.
जी.
The word.
Not to have any, misunderstandings.
Yes. Actually, I was just making a recorded video, but it's good to actually you join. Oh. We are just learning about the joints in our body.
Ji.
So there are some different joints, and we were talking about it. Okay. We have these movable bone joints in our body. We have already discussed about the unmovable bone joints that we find in our skull, cranium, and the facial skeletal. Then we have semi-movable bone joints that we will find in our spine. And now we are just watching movable bone joints. Rest of the body. First, we have seen ball and socket. Where do you find this? It's in your hips and the shoulder joints. Next example of the movable bone joints is our hinge joint. Now, the example of the hinge joint is the movement is only in one direction. So it will move in one direction. That means you will find this in elbow. Also, you can find this joint in your knee or in your fingers, in between your fingers. So you can bend your elbow in one direction like a hinge. Bend your knee like in one direction. Also in your fingers in between the phalanges, I will write the word phalangeal joint. This finger you can bend in only one direction. That is what the hinge joint in between each of these phalanges. We do also have the next bone joint that is known to be as gliding joint. Or before gliding joint, first we will see about pivot. What is pivot joint? Pivot, this word means twisting. Pivot means twisting. You will also find this pivot joint in your neck. So when you rotate your neck, mostly there is a pivot joint. You can also find in your elbow when you will twist your arm. So that is the twisting movement, mostly in your neck with the help of connective tissue as well. Similarly, you have the gliding joint. Gliding joint is found in between, for example, in between your carpal and metacarpal. Also, tarsal and metatarsal. So these joints you found in your carpal and metacarpal. That means in your wrist and ankle. Ankle bones are known as tarsals, wrist bones are known as carpals. So the gliding movement, the sliding movement here, if you will see the wrist bones, these are known as carpals, and metacarpals are at the back of your palm, where when you will move your arm, wrist, here, this joint in between is known as gliding joint. Similarly, you find this in your ankle also. That is your tarsals and in between metatarsals. That means in between your ankle joints and in between your back or top of the foot. Similarly, the joint in between that glides. The next example of the movable bone joint, I will give it after I will erase this. So have a look about it first. The next joint we can write as a condyloid joint, number 5. Condyloid joint is also example of movable bone joint or synovial bone joint. The condyloid joint you find in between your metacarpal and phalanges. So in between your metacarpals and phalanges, the condyloid joint of the finger. So this joint, if you will see, this is your metacarpal at the back of your palm, and this is your phalanges. Here, 1, 2, 3 phalanges. So this joint in between, which moves our whole finger, is known as condyloid joint. It is similarly like a ball and socket, but it does not move in 360 degrees. This is rotating your finger like a condyloid into 70 degrees. The next over here, I will make it as saddle joint. Saddle joint is also known as an example of synovial joint, that is movable bone joint that you find in your thumb. Your thumb is like moving like a saddle. So this is what like a saddle joint, your thumb joint. So these were the kinds of bone joints which we have studied and which we have seen today. Okay, got it about it? Now we have to make sure we will revise what we have seen today. And first important about the bone joints, what we have seen, the first joint which are known as unmovable bone joints are called fibrous bone joints. Second, which are called semi-movable bone joints, which also known as cartilaginous bone joints. These are the third known as the synovial bone joints, which means movable bone joints. We have the types of synovial bone joints like ball and socket found in your hips and shoulders, the most important joints in the practice of yoga, because if you practice and if our joints are more open, more important ball and socket, then we can practice the very difficult and advanced postures. The flexibility improves a lot with the help of ball and socket. If your hips are open completely, you can be able to sit in lotus pose, or you can be able to do many advanced postures with the splits, or splitting your legs here can be done with the hip openers. If you are open with your shoulders, you can completely hold your legs a big toe from behind and can be do the Lord Shiva dancing postures or more advanced postures. If your hip bone joints are more open and shoulder joints are more open, you can even keep your leg into your neck here. That much flexibility we achieve with the help of opening ball and socket joint or synovial bone joint. The next is hinge. Hinge joint, one direction movement found in your elbow, in your phalanges only. Next is, which we have seen, pivot in your neck, twisting of your neck. Then the next was gliding, which we have seen, the gliding found in your carpals and in between metacarpals. So these joints, when metacarpals are connected in between carpals, this is gliding movement. Similarly, in between tarsals and metatarsals. The next we have studied about what is written condyloid. So condyloid joints in between metacarpals and phalanges. That means in between our metacarpals and phalanges, like a condyloid movement of the fingers only. Saddle joint in your thumb. These joints which we have studied today. Apart from the bone joints, what else we're gonna study today is the type of cartilage. So we have the types of cartilage as well. We'll erase this now. The next here, cartilage. New topic. About the cartilages or cartilage, how many kinds of cartilage do we have? Generally, we have this cartilage is like important three types of cartilage. The also fourth one is a part with the connective tissues is also the part of cartilage. This cartilage is not a bone, but a bone-like membrane, which is tough, which is elastic in nature. So cartilage is not a bone, but like similar membrane, a tough and elastic membrane. This cartilage, we have this first type known as hyaline cartilage. Hyaline cartilage, as you will see. Hyaline cartilage, you will find the example here. I will give it to you, like in your ribs, in your nose, in your larynx, that means your voice box, and in your trachea, that means in your windpipe. So the cartilage, hyaline cartilage, is what? The weaker, is one of the weak cartilage. that mostly is found in our ribs, which are connected to the sternum bone. In our nose also, if you will see the movement of our nose, that is with the membrane. This bone is not moving, but a cartilage of the nose is moving. That cartilage is also hyaline cartilage. Also, these hyaline cartilages are found in our bone joints, different bone joints which we have studied now, movable bone joints. Also, they are found in our larynx, that is our voice box. Also in our trachea, that is our windpipe, made up of this hyaline cartilage. Windpipe, where the flow of air travels through it. The next type of the cartilage you will see here is the fibrocartilage. Fibrocartilage is not weak. This is made up of the fibers. That is the strongest cartilage, very strong cartilage, where you find this in your vertebrae. Vertebrae, I will write it down, and also in your ligaments, also in your vertebrae, and also in your ligaments. So these fibrocartilage, in between each and every vertebra, you will find that cartilage disc. You see in every vertebra, you have the cartilage disc. We have studied 26 vertebrae, cervical, thoracic, and lumbar, with sacrum and coccyx. In every vertebra, there is our disc that is known as cartilage disc. Sometimes some people have back pain when the disc shifts in or the disc slips out. So slip disc. That disc is made up of cartilage. So that cartilage is known to be as fibrocartilage, which holds, connects our vertebra to other vertebra on our spine. Very strong cartilage here, which also is helpful to maintain the balance in between our central nervous system, in between our brain and the spine. All the nerves including inside that. So vertebra and ligaments. Ligaments, what is ligaments? Ligaments is that connective tissue which joins one bone to another bone. So connection of one bone to another bone is known as ligaments in our body. So we have the first type hyaline cartilage, the second type fibrocartilage, and the third type I will tell you today is elastic cartilage. So elastic cartilage are found, or examples of elastic cartilage are in our external part of our ear and in our epiglottis. Epiglottis means our switch between food pipe and windpipe. Okay. So epiglottis means the switch between the food pipe and the windpipe. Right over here, I will just show you the third type of cartilage, elastic cartilage. For example, you find it in your external ear or in your epiglottis, which is nothing but the switch between the food pipe and windpipe. It's a type of tissue organ. That epiglottis you will find right in front, above, below our throat section, that will allow the food to enter the food pipe. It is controlled with involuntary mind or involuntary organ. It's not in control with our mind at all. So this cartilage, epiglottis is made of the cartilage, elastic in nature, external part of the ear. So if you will see this ear, where you can move it, bend it, twist it, fold it, it will regain again, come back into its original form or original shape. That is what elasticity or elastic in nature. So these are also known as elastic cartilages. So we have seen today the certain types like hyaline cartilage, which are found in ribs, nose, white box, larynx, or windpipe. Also, these are found in our bone joints in our body, hyaline cartilage. Fibrocartilage are strong in nature. Where do you find? In your vertebrae and in your ligaments. That means the connection between one bone to another bone. The third type of cartilage is elastic in nature, and elastic cartilage is mostly found in your external part of your ear and also in your epiglottis, which between food pipe and windpipe. Got it? These are the cartilages you will see over here. Have a look one time. So today we will only see, or we have only seen about the number of bones in our whole body, the flow chart of axial skeleton, of appendicular skeleton. Then we have seen all the types of bone joints. Also, we have seen all the types, the three types of cartilage in today's lecture. So, anytime if you have any questions, please let me know about it.
Sir,
Yes,
excuse me, may I ask you something?
Yes, Akhilesh.
Acha, for the exams, we
Yes.
should, is it preferable all these behind you that you have written? We need to study from the board behind you or from the book?
Anyway, you have to just read it. Read one time. This is not all for the exam. Just to be honest,
Acha.
this is just for our life. So the what we are studying, everything on the whiteboard.
Okay.
This is not in much deep up for the exam. The exams will be very easy, very basic things, not all these. So very basic questions will be there in your examination. Like I will let you know in the next week about the questions, not about the questions, but very simple things here about some basic what we should know. This is much deep, which we are studying for the life, not for the exam, but for those people actually who want to teach as a yoga teacher in future professionally. You need to know all these things.
जी बिल्कुल sir. Just because the terminology it's a bit difficult, at least for me, because I'm not English is not my mother tongue, and the terminology of this medicine is too. For this
I can completely understand, Akhilesh. See, I completely understand.
Many congratulations to your work. It's really remarkable. And
thank you so much, Amar. Thank
Okay.
you so much. So don't worry about any exams and anything. This topic for those who are likely to teach in future as a teacher. Because if you will become a teacher at LSG in future, you will have number of students in front of you, number of different mentality of the students. You are from Greek or Indian Greek person. The rest of the people from Europe, from Australia, from different American countries, mentality completely different. All lot of problems. Some have physical problems, some have mental problems, some have psychological problems. So these things are for as a professional teacher, not for exams only.
Okay.
It will be easy exam. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll chant one Om and we'll end up the session. Okay. Thank you so much. And I want to ask one question, Akhilesh, as you are one-on-one today.
जी हाँ.
Can you tell why do we chant Shanti 3 times?
Sorry, जी.
Why do we chant Shanti 3 times?
Firstly, the number 3 is the number of the Almighty, according also to the ancient Greek philosophers. If you know Pythagoras, this great man, that he had studied and he was into the symbols, the numbers. So the number 3 is the number of the Almighty. Almighty, sorry. Shanti is peace.
Yes.
So when we chant Om is the Almighty. So may the Almighty bring to our world Shanti, matlab peace.
Yes, but why 3 times, that I will tell. According to you, it is very good to know about the Greek mythology or the philosophy as well, what you said about the number 3, about Almighty. But here, what we do 3 times in our dharma or our duty in our Sanatan Dharma, the peace first belongs to ourselves. So whatever practice which we do, that we have to do on the self. The second Shanti we have to chant within our aura. So whatever animals, whatever souls, whatever living beings are there present in our aura, our neighbors, our family members, the second Shanti is for them. The third Shanti is for the universe. That means whatever the people which we are in contact with in this whole planet or in this universe, the connection which we cannot reach or which are not within our aura, or you are in Greece, the rest of the people are the third Shanti is for them. But the first one is important, that is the Reiki type. So if we cannot heal ourselves, we cannot heal others. So first is for the self, then the rest is what the short does.
Very nice. Generally, we have many commons in ancient Greek way of thinking with the ancient Indian philosophy. And it's really remarkable, the numbers, the symbols, because I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer as well. And, you know, the Indian classical...
Mudras.
Ji, hastas, etc., mudras.
Yes.
And as you know, you're very lucky because you have a continuance since the ancient times until now. And as you know, the Indian classical dance was danced in the temples. Like in ancient Greece, the theaters were part of the healing centers. And also we have many common also mudras that they have excavated on the bases. So you can understand how many years back the India and Greece have a very strong bonds. And I'm really happy about it.
So you can join the knowledge from the Indian Greek philosophy, and in future, what is your duty or profession?
I have studied Italian literature and then theology, my second bachelor degree.
And currently?
Currently, I work in the Embassy of India in Athens.
Wow, nice.
I'm in cultural events.
Nice.
And we had a very good performance of on commemoration of the 75 years of India's independence.
Yeah.
And many things are going to happen. So
great.
Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Please
Hari
take care.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.